ಸಾಲ ಕಪ್ ನಮ್ದೆ.
Mr. Venkatesh Naidoo, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for participating in Bangalored, the vodcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. I will learn as we go along.
To answer your question, which you asked me before we started rolling, what we're going to speak about, there's no agenda. I invite people who are primarily Bangaloreans, and I try to get people from all walks of life, and I try to sit down and have a real conversation with these people, and I try to get a perspective of life from different angles, and I think it also overall gives me an idea of what living in this city means, and what kind of people live here, and essentially what's the vibe of Bangalore, and therefore the idea is to find out how much we've all been Bangalored over the years, and as a Bangalorean, I thought it would be interesting to get the perspective of someone like you who's seen a lot of life, a man of experience, a man who's done quite a few things from whatever I've heard, and I thought it would just be interesting for me and through me other people to get to know one more interesting Bangalorean who happens to be ex-CEO of Tata Tea. You're also Tata Tea, right?
Tata Tetley.
Tata Tetley, right? Tata Tetley. You're also
the tea bag people.
Currently an avid golfer, but you were also at one time a Ranji Trophy cricketer, correct? You've been a sportsman all your life, so I'm sure, and you've also been an tea estate manager, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that's very many interesting things for one man to have done in a life. I'm sure, like the other guests that I've had, you've got some interesting stories that we can all learn something from. So that's the agenda, just to get to know you a little better.
Oh, that's fascinating to, have somebody give me an opportunity to talk about my various trips, travels, assignments.
Yeah, absolutely.
All over, some which came my way accidentally, some which I worked towards. So yeah, it's been a fascinating life, fascinating journey. And the journey still continues.
Yeah, of course.
Every 10-15 years life changes and you get into a new phase of life, and it's amazing how when you think, kar liya yaar sab, and then suddenly you get a new phase of life as you're living, as you're continuing your hobbies, as you're meeting new friends. So yeah, I'll be so happy to share things with you.
And I don't know if I mentioned this at the onset, but you are the first senior citizen to be on the show. So that is the first.
Do I look like a senior citizen? No.
Just about. You look like you're going to become, like any day now.
No. Of course.
Let me start at the very beginning. When did you come to Bangalore? And how did Bangalore happen? How did you get here to this city?
We had a while we were in Assam, we bought a plot of land. My father had a farm, and we built a house.
So how did Assam? You're not from Assam?
No. I'm from Ajmer. I studied in a school called Mayo College.
But your name is Venkatesh Naidoo, which is you're a Telugu, Andhra Pradeshi by ancestry.
Well, my grandmother and mother are all from Hyderabad.
Okay.
And my father was from Central India, Raipur. So they met. They got married, and my father was studying in BHU. I'm very proud of that. He was studying in BHU and he got a call to play cricket for the Indian cricket team in 1933 against Ceylon. So he left university and he joined this Rajkumar College, Raipur. He got selected to play, but his boss, who was the principal, said, "You can't go and get into the Indian team. I am equally good, so unless I get selected, you won't be given permission." He had a family to support. So he actually had to give up playing for the country, and he continued with.
So BHU. Sorry, what is the full form?
Banaras Hindu University.
Banaras Hindu University. It was in the news today. How weird. For the wrongest of reasons.
It was one of the biggest universities in India.
Yes. What about
in 1920, 1930, big time. It was Muslim Aligarh University, Banaras Hindu University, the other universities in Pakistan that time. So yeah, so he
got a call to play for Indian cricket team in 1937.
1933.
1933, even earlier, but he could not participate because his boss, the principal of BHU, refused to give him permission.
No, he's the principal of Rajkumar College, Raipur.
Okay. Was he a student or faculty there?
He left being a student and he became the faculty. He became
So he was a student who then became faculty?
He became the games master, games director of
Okay.
So
he was an athlete, obviously.
He was super athlete. I mean, he was many rungs above. You can edit this, but I'll just tell you, he's the only person that I know of. And I have played cricket, and I have been part of cricket. In 1933, they used to have the quadrangular cricket matches, where the Hindus, Muslims, Parsis, and Christians. It was the beginning of Ranji Trophy. This was not interstate, this was inter-community. So he played for the Hindus, left Banaras Hindu University, came to Raipur, and he is the first person to have scored a century in the final of this important cricket match, Hindus versus Muslims, and he took 13 wickets, which is to me a world record. Nobody has scored a century and taken 13 wickets, So he of course got selected to play for India, but his principal didn't allow. So, but he never went back and mentioned, saying, bloody principal, I could have played for my country. He continued and he played cricket. I will say a few more things about my father till the age of 49. And there was this other great Indian cricketer called Mushtaq Ali. Syed Mushtaq Ali. I played cricket against Mushtaq Ali's son, who was captain of MPS, captain of Rajasthan schools, and my father played against
Syed
Mushtaq Ali. So in 1936, when Mushtaq Ali was at the peak of his career, he was 6 foot, handsome, he hit the ball bigger than Sehwag and Chris Gayle put together, that hard. My father was, equally young, so they played a match in Nagpur, and he bowled Mushtaq Ali out. Now for him to bowl out the Mushtaq Ali, he was like whatever you want to call, Gavaskar or Virat Kohli or anybody as big as that. And then many years later, in 1953, they met again in Ajmer, and there was the Holkar versus Rajputan, where my father had become 49 years of age, and Mushtaq Ali came there, and my father bowled him out again. So I met Mushtaq Ali Saab many times, and he's a brilliant speaker. So he said, Venkat, your father bowled me out in 1936, and then I come as the hero, and the whole, people are watching to see Syed Mushtaq Ali bat. And although he hit him for a couple of 4s and 6s, he says he gets me out. So as he was walking down from the ground, he goes and taps my father, Ki Naidoo Saab, they haven't come to see you bowl. They came to see me bat. What have you done? But they hugged each other. They were friends. So, that's the class he was. And he played tennis to perfection and hockey to perfection. He played against the Kramer Circus, which you won't know. But the Kramer Circus was the biggest tennis fraternity. They won Wimbledon, they won the American
Was it
Open.
like the Globetrotters of basketball?
Yeah, they were like the Globetrotters of basketball. So he was invited to
I'm so sorry to disturb
Jaipur.
you. Let me just fix this mic a bit.
One second, I'll take my
Finish.
feet.
Can always edit this out, not a problem.
It's a lovely advertisement to put the whiskey while we're having the.
I'm hoping some whiskey brand will, decide to sponsor the podcast. That's why I keep the.
Good. Hopefully they'll give us a few bottles.
Absolutely, that's the idea. Sorry, you say.
So I'm just telling you, these stories have died. Nobody knows these.
The Kramers,
stories.
tennis Kramers. You're talking about.
So he was sitting in his office. He had moved from Rajkot to
Your father's
College
name
Ajmer.
is
G.R. Naidoo, Ganpat Rao Naidoo.
Ganpat Rao Naidoo. G.R. Naidoo.
If you go onto the internet, Google search, you'll find it. So he's sitting in his office and this Mercedes drives, and there's a note from Maharani Gayatri Devi, the Maharani Gayatri Devi, saying, Mr. Naidoo, please get into the car and drive to Jaipur. I need you urgently. I've got permissions for you to leave office. Just put on your white flannels, cricket clothes. In those days, they played in white flannels, long sleeve shirt. So he got into the car, took his racket, shoes, and drove off to Jaipur, and there was Maharani Gayatri Devi with these three Englishmen, American there, and there was a lawn tennis court which he had seen. So they started knocking, and she said, will you partner Mr. Bob Howe or Skoneki? So my father said, so anybody. He didn't know who they were.
He doesn't know any of them anyways.
He had no idea what he was in for. So they went there. He was a damn good tennis player. So they started knocking, and then out of courtesy they said, Mr. Naidoo, would you like to serve first? My father was a 6'1", big serve. So, very proud. So he put on his best topspin serve. And the guy across happened to be a guy called Bob Howe. He took the racket in both hands, which nobody did at that time, and he, swatted it across. Crack! My father never saw that. He said, "Was a bloody fluke." So he went the other side and he served to Skoneki. And the guy, whacking, forehand, it went past my father. So this went on. Of course, he lost his serve. And then they came to serve. And they served. My father said, I never saw the ball. It was so the match went on. And his partner was also a professional. But the match finished, and they all came, and he went to Maharani Gayatri Devi and said, Maharani Sahiba, what the hell is this, what have you put me into? She said, you don't know who they are? He said, no, how would I know? So she said, oh, let me introduce Bob Howe, Skoneki, Mr. Kramer, and the fourth got ill eating my tandoori chicken last night. So he said, why the hell didn't you tell me?
Oh, that's why he was called. Because the fourth player in the team had a bad stomach because tandoori chicken he ate the previous night from Gayatri Devi.
Correct. So she said nobody was willing to come. They all knew what it was all about.
They all got swatted.
Anyway, you come, you're a brave man. So they shook hands. So, he said that was a lesson in life. That however good you think you are, and you can be a damn good hero to your friends, but there is a world which is far
above you, right?
Above.
There are levels, right, within every...
Whatever you are, whether you're a sportsman, you're a teacher, whether you're a politician or you're anybody, there is somebody always far superior. So that's the story he told us. The trophy I've still got. One day I'll polish it and show it to you. So I learned that very, very early in life. So when my turn came to play cricket, I'll talk about cricket because it's after my heart. I was playing Ranji Trophy for Rajasthan. Rajasthan had these big guys, Salim Durrani, Hanman Singh, Raj Singh, Dungarpur, Arvind Apte, universal test cricketers. So I was this little guy who was carrying bags a lot of times, playing a few matches.
Which year would this
be? This was 1966, 1967, 1968. So, they came to me and said, Venkat, you're a damn good cricketer.
How did you get into the Ranji? I mean, how did you get that far?
I was studying in this Mayo College, which had a cricket institution.
So, yes, you're from the famous Mayo College, Ajmer.
So they had a cricket team, and I just happened to be the captain of the Mayo
that's how
College cricket team. And when you're the college of Mayo College cricket team,
which was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah, so you become captain of Rajasthan schools anyway. So I did, and I scored a century against Mushtaq Ali's son. I scored another century, so they selected me to play for Central Zone. I scored 2 centuries, so they automatically selected me in the Rajasthan
Ranji side
state team. I didn't do very well in the beginning, but it was, if you haven't played with these people, and Gavaskar was my opponent, by the way.
Oh, you played against Mr. Sunil Gavaskar.
Sunil Gavaskar was the captain of Bombay schools. I was captain of Rajasthan schools.
Okay.
He was the hero of Bombay Ranji Trophy. I was playing, for Rajasthan. Sunil Gavaskar never got out. We never got out.
Oh, he never got out.
He got a century. He scored a double century. If Hanman Singh scored 1 century and Salim Durrani scored another century, Gavaskar and Wadekar and Ashok Mankrut scored. So it was a world which you have to experience to understand the beauty of how everything works. I told you, whether you're in your office, whether you're working for Tatas, or you're in school, or you're Kaziranga Sanctuary, there's such a big world outside. So there's Gary Sobers, who is a top-notch cricketer.
Right.
In the 60s, there's Salim Durrani, who was an equally top-notch. But Gary Sobers concentrated on, cricket. Salim Durrani also, but Salim Durrani, my hero forever, also concentrated on having many whiskies at night and many women at night. So Gary Sobers made this statement: if Salim Bhai was a little less interested in women than I am, and little less interested in whiskey. There had been a Sir selling the Rani, but unfortunately he wasn't. So I am Sir Gary. So Gavaskar was the antithesis. He would come to the cricket field. He would almost go into meditation before the match. He would sit at the breakfast table. The paper said Sunil Gavaskar scores 100 or whatever. He would have the light behind him, and he would read the newspaper like this. So his eyes would focus. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He'd put the newspaper. In the evening, he never had a drink. He respected his cricket bat. If you watch his movies, films, he never dragged his cricket back when he got out.
Even all the footage of him playing days.
Many. So he tucked the bat under his.
Correct. I've seen many times Gavaskar walking with the bat under his arm.
And he said, I have to respect my bat. The bat isn't going to respect me. But he was talented. He was only 5'6", and he faced the biggest West Indies bowlers and took them apart.
Without a helmet.
Without a helmet.
He started wearing helmet much later in his career. No?
Skull cap. Only a skull cap.
Oh, he never wore a real helmet. He only wore a skull cap towards the end of the career.
With a cap on top. Till there were no helmets at that time when he played.
Oh my God.
60s, 70s, bit of 80s. But he knew how to concentrate. He had a vision about himself, and so he was an exceptional cricketer. There was a time when the Tata Tetley guys, we made tea bags. They had this most expensive tea bagging machine, which used to make tea bags. And
Tetley was the first tea bag in India. Or was it Lipton?
Yeah, we were a joint venture.
Okay.
We were making tea bags together, and then Tata's bought Tetley. Some wonderful stories which I'll tell you, which are.
So Tetley belonged to Lipton earlier, and Tata's bought it. No.
Tetley was Lions. Tetley, they were the biggest tea and coffee company in the world.
Okay.
So Lions was coffee and Tetley was Tetley. They had captured the market all around. So along with Unilever, Tetley was the biggest name. The others were, by the way.
How big was Lipton at the time? Was it even around? No. Tetley precedes.
Well, Lipton is Unilever.
Oh, okay. It's a brand they launched later.
It's part of it. It's always been part of it.
Okay.
Lipton's has been part of it. So, they had this drawstring tea bag. So, I'm saying the decision that you take. So, this drawstring tea bag was invented by Tetley. But they launched it in England, but it was too expensive because they had to have 30 women, as the belt took it round. So, the women counted 10 bags, 20 bags, 50 bags, and they counted them and stacked them in a carton. Then another woman
assembly line.
Then it went round and they slapped it. Now in England, to have 20, 30 women, employed to fill in tea bags, it's not viable, and it's too slow. So we had an arrangement. We were a joint venture, so we bought these two drawstring tea bags. One day I'll show you the drawstring tea bag. And it came to me in Cochin. So when this machine came, like everybody else, we had 20 women counting, putting it in. So I had some biscuits, Mallu biscuits. You can't imagine how their brain works. So they came one day and said, sir, I can put a electronic chip and a sensor and an electronic eye where the eye will count these bags, and when 10 bags are counted, tuck the next bag. This bag will carton will go away. The next one will come, and the carton will go chuck. 10, 20, 50, and we'll close it. So I said, yeah, you can't do that. This machine has come. So I had to take that decision. So we sat down together and we said, okay, do it. So they came and they actually invented a machine in India which the Tetley engineers, it was like artificial intelligence in Tetley. The greatest tea bag makers, inventor of the tea bags. So our guys in Cochin actually invented a robot which used to count, slot and put. So it took me.
Which year was this?
This was 1998.
That's what, 23, 24, 25 years ago.
Correct.
Wow.
And
it's quite, the technology you're talking about is quite advanced for that era, I would assume.
Of course,
for that age.
yeah. So we experimented and we were filling it. Then I went and told my boss, Krishna Kumar, who was chairman of Tata Tetley, Tata Sons, sir, I think we can bypass the 40 women and one robot can do this. So he said, you better be sure. You are changing the machine and those guys will come at you. So he said,
the guys from London.
The guys from London. So he said, do it. But if it fails, you had it. So I said, I'll take that chance. If it fails, sack me or whatever. So we got around together and we practiced and we put in. Then we sent a message to the vice chairman of Tetley saying, we have now, automated your manual machine and we won't give it back to you. But, this is
so basically you automated the machine they had sent.
Yeah, with, manual filling in those days.
Right,
so, they flew
right.
down. This is the vice chairman of Tetley International and the managing director of Tetley International. And they came and said, Venkat, why the hell have you done it without asking us? So I told them very honestly, your pride wouldn't have allowed an Indian
for you guys to do it.
Do what you guys have invented. So he said, draw a chair. So he sat on the chair and he said, run the machine. Bring me many cups of tea. Bring me sandwiches. I am here for 3-4 hours. If this bloody machine doesn't work, your job's at stake. So I told Krishna Kumar this will happen. He said, take a chance. So, for 4 hours, he was sitting having cups of tea and sandwiches and the machine went tuck, 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 cut, tuck, 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 tuck. He didn't, they didn't fail. And the technician was around almost praying, whatever. So as you have been in your job, Sendil, I know you pretty well. You've also taken tough decisions in life, whether it be personal or professional. Tell me.
I think all the tough decisions I've taken in life have, I think they've all only been on the personal front. I think professionally, whatever I've done, I've taken what some might consider rash decisions. I've taken what some might consider impulsive or decisions from the heart. They were really tough. They were just because everything I want to do, some of the things that are like including filmmaking or advertising for that matter. I've done whatever my heart has told me to do at the time, It may seem practical sometimes, it might seem impractical to some at that time. But it wasn't very tough. I don't think I've had any.
No, but how did you make this company grow to the levels that you made it grow?
Well, honestly, I don't know if the company or any such thing has grown. I think I've grown as a professional, as in I've learned so much more over the years, both in advertising and in filmmaking, purely by trying and failing. I've made advertising. I've not failed so much because I've done pretty well. I mean, there's two halves of my life. There's the advertising half of my life, and there's the filmmaking half of my life. I've been very fortunate. I've been very lucky that advertising has come easy. As in
easy. I think advertising is one of the tough
well for a lot of people apparently. But for me, maybe I've just been lucky to have been in the right places at the right time or the right organizations or whatever. I've never found it too difficult. A little stressful at times because it's about creativity. It's about coming up with ideas to satisfy a client. It's about having to please many people with your ideas, which can be stressful because not everyone is going to like your ideas all the time, right? But thankfully, most of the times, most of the people liked whatever ideas that I had to present, and if not the quality of my ideas, I make up with the quality of my presentation of the ideas. And I think being a bit of a hack and being a bit of a con man, advertising has come quite naturally to me, in that sense. So that's never been hard. I've always been blessed as far as advertising is concerned.
You can't be blessed. You have to have the talent, you have to have the drive, you have to have the vision.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know if that's applicable in my case. I don't know if I have any of this, but I've got by in advertising.
Of course.
Filmmaking is difficult because filmmaking, and I'm not talking about ad filmmaking, which I do, of course, long form content or what we call today, or back in the day it was only movies, right? But today you have movies, you also have web shows, you have documentaries, you have interesting infotainment videos on YouTube and all of that. I think telling a story is hard. Convincing someone to give you their money for you to tell a story on a subject that you like the way you want to, that's the challenge. Because nothing happens, I mean, you would know, nothing happens without funding, right? Once you get, until you might have a great idea, you might have amazing vision, but until you have the money from wherever whoever is able to give it to you to bring a vision alive, right? It's difficult. Coming back to you, I want to go back to the Ranji trophy, because we were there, we jumped from there. So how long did you play cricket? How long did you play the Ranji?
You know, when I was in college, I played for 5 years, but they're these big guns. And can I tell you the story?
Please, you can tell me anything you want.
Raj Singh Dungarpur, the cricketer, was secretly engaged to Lata Mangeshkar, the singer. Okay. Now, as a member of the team, I should have known that. Na? You can't be so stupid that you don't know that your boss, your captain, is engaged to the Lata Mangeshkar.
Is this official news or is it industry rumor?
It was, everybody knew except me.
Okay.
And I was from this stupid bloody public school where you speak whatever you want, you don't hold back. So, Raj Singh Dungarpur was the first guy who had a tape recorder. And he carried this tape recorder with Lata Mangeshkar songs on it. And of course, so we heard Lata Mangeshkar in the morning, Lata Mangeshkar at dinner. So this stupid young, guy from college said, "Yaar, ye Lata Mangeshkar ke gaane, is there nobody else which we can hear in this
Apart
room?"
from the damn Lata Mangeshkar morning to night.
And Hanuman Singh, the other thing, he tapped me on my shoulder, saying, "Well done, Venkat. Mayo College didn't teach you anything up to Raj Singh ke joote or towels carry karna." For 2 years, Raj Singh didn't play me. I mean, it was a stupid thing to say. How can you say a thing like that? I was really stupid to make a comment about Raj Singh and Lata Mangeshkar. Later I found out...
But then you did not know.
No,
did you not realize that you did not know?
You cannot make a comment like that.
And also Raj Singh Dungarpur is a royal family, right?
Of course, he's the Prince of Dungarpur.
Right.
So, he didn't say anything. I apologized to him and he said, so then Hanuman became the captain. And he played.
Why does your Hanuman sound very familiar, the name?
Hanuman Singh was one of the top cricketers in India in 1960s, early 70s. But he got into politics with Nawab Pataudi. Okay. So Pataudi and he were competing for becoming captain of India.
Oh.
And so they made Anand is my hero. Totally. He's a gentle giant. So they disqualified him on some Thai problem, and they didn't take him to Australia as a cricket captain. In fact, they didn't take him. So slowly his thing petered out. But Anand Singh was one of the greatest batsmen, India.
Of that era in India. Wow.
Yeah, he scored a century in his first test match and all that. So that is how. But he is so sweet. He came to a squash court and he took a tennis ball and bowled at me, saying, "I'll teach you how to play off your back foot," or whatever it is. So, these are things which make you feel like meeting Mr. Ratan Tata in life. When you meet...
Correct, Ratan Tata was your boss, right?
Of course, he was my boss. His Krishna Kumar was the immediate boss.
So you reported to the man who reported Ratan Tata?
Correct.
Right. And did you have many interactions with Ratan Tata?
Yes. The humility of the man. Since we are talking big time now. I was only a CEO of a small Tata company. But so Ratan Tata came to Cochin. And because he got delayed and the unions and the chief ministers, people were there, he said, "Look, Mr. Naidoo," he didn't call me Venkat, I have only half an hour. You said 1.5 hours to go around the factory, you'd make a presentation, multimedia presentation. I apologize. So get into the car with me and tell me, in those 10 minutes from the airport to whatever it is. And then my plane is waiting for me. At sundown, it won't take off. They won't allow me. So we got to finish this. So, this is Mr. Ratan Tata. So we drove in the car. Minnie was in the middle. I was on one side.
One sec. Minnie is...
My ex-wife.
Minnie is your wife. Right.
Okay.
Right.
And Ratan Tata was naturally on the side where the door would open and all the people would come to garland him. So as the door opened, they had their garlands. So he said, "Stop." So they all stopped. He said, "I've got a lady in the car." The lady will get out of the car. He opened the door for Minnie and said, "Madam, will you step out?" I got out from the other side And then he, let her go and said, yeah, okay, now you can garland me. Which man would wait for the lady to get out of the car and say, now, okay, show me around.
I suppose it's a slightly old world chivalry, right? I mean,
even today, when you go and hear the stories about him, like I have many stories with the great man. He is just humble and he is, almost shy, and he's a great man. So yeah. So when you meet people like him, among other things, you learn that there's a bigger, higher world. I went to Cochin to attend the launch of the Tata Indica, and naturally I met him and said, "Sir,
that was his project, right?
Of course.
That was Tata's first car. The
that
Indica.
Was Tata's first car.
Here's my question: was the Indica a hit or a flop? Because I've read it didn't do well, but then I've seen Indicas ever since last 20 years. Right?
No, the initial, cars of Tatas, they didn't know how to launch a world-class car, and the sales and distribution, supply chain, also were new to Tatas. They only had Tata Salt. There's only one company called Tata Salt, Tata Chemicals, which was launching everything, tea bags and Tomco oils or whatever. And Tata sold Tomco against the advice of Darbari Seth, who was also my boss one time. He was chairman of
against who?
Darbari Seth. Darbari Seth was one of the guys who was reckoned to take over from JRD Tata.
Oh,
okay, that big. We're talking about really big time, the biggest time.
So he was, but Ratan Tata came in and took the position
because JRD nominated him.
Right. So which is at the time controversial, right? Mildly controversial.
Yeah, there was Kelkar and Mulgaonkar, big guns, in the world. So they sold Tomco. So Darbari said, since this is big time, business we are talking about, he said Tomco is a Tata company. It makes Tata Oil Mills Limited company. We can launch, consumer goods on the bank of Tomco. It's got this huge network of sales, distributors, supply chain and all that. How the hell did you sell it without asking me? He was in London for a couple of months for whatever, launching here and there. He said, you should have asked me. Tata Chemicals would have bought Tomco on their own. I don't need any money from Tata Sons or whatever. But that didn't happen. So, that is how Darbari said. So, Darbari said, when I became the accidental CEO, because the guy from America didn't come and the guy from London didn't come, he put his arm around me in the first board meeting and said in Punjabi and Hindi, Bete, तुमको पंजाबी समझ में आती है? I said, हाँ सर. हिंदी समझ में आती है बहुत अच्छी तरह से. एक बात मैं तुमको बोलता हूँ, ये जो अंग्रेज है ना, ये तुमको बहुत तंग करेंगे. वो तंग करेंगे. तुमको अभी कुछ आता नहीं है. तुम तो टी गार्डन से ही आए हो, मॉस्को, for 2 years or whatever. He said, you leave it to me for the first 2 board meetings. I'll handle the finances, the return on investment, capital and all that. But in 6 months, you better know your job. After that, there's no way to help you. So the first 2 board meetings, he helped me, and whatever the Brits fired at me, bang, 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 he answered. I didn't know in the first. I was just pushed, from nowhere as a operations head. But then he said, now go and do a course on finance and marketing and whatever. After 6 months, you're better educated. You dress better than them. You speak better than them. And so you played better cricket than they ever played. He said that honestly, Hindi mein. So don't worry. We'll take on these white skin. They also give me help. There's a racism, color bar.
Back in the day, there should have been, right?
Yeah,
there must have been.
So he took them on. But, for him to say that, so guy to protect you. So let me tell you the story. So after the first board meeting in the Taj Mahal boardroom, the board meeting finished, they said, congratulations, you're the new CEO, 3 years and we'll review it. So, Sendil, since you are also from a world which is very similar to mine, I walked out of the hotel before the dinner.
Which hotel was this?
Taj Mahal Hotel.
Taj Mahal, where is this?
Bombay, Gateway India, yeah.
Taj, you're talking about Land's End?
No, the Taj.
Oh, the Taj, India Gate.
India Gate.
Right,
the
Taj.
Yeah. So, I walked out, and as I went to India Gate, I was walking around and I looked at this, saying, all my life I've driven past it. I haven't even really been inside. Where the hell did I dream that I'm going to be in it and I'm going to be attending a board meeting of the Tatas with Darbari Seth and Krishna Kumar, there. So, it's a lot of, you thank your father, you thank your mother, you thank God, if you believe in it.
So that must have been a hugely emotional moment for you,
totally, right? Then I went back, we had the board dinner together and all that. And they said, Venkat, this must be a big day in your life. So I said, what do you mean big day? It's an unexpected, happening in my life. But yeah, I'm grateful to Providence and I'm grateful to you that you selected me. And then, of course, after that, I learned and I worked very hard. I learned about marketing and finance and management or whatever.
To backtrack a bit, now we covered the fact that you studied Mayo and the cricket happened, and then somewhere we jumped a timeline and we know that you became CEO of TATA Tetley, right? Just join the dots for us. So the last I left you were in Ranji. You were playing Ranji. You were being not played by Dungarpur for having made a unconscious slight on Lata Mangeshkar.
Yeah.
2 years you were not played. Eventually you played Ranji for Rajasthan, right? And if I remember right, you've also played in Eden Gardens for Rajasthan.
For Assam.
Okay, let's go from Rajasthan. What happened after Ranji team? You joined. Eventually you played for Rajasthan. Despite Dungarpur.
I played for Rajasthan.
When Dungarpur was captain or afterwards?
No, he was the captain right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And
eventually he played you basically after 2 years.
Hanuman took over after 2 years. So
Hanuman Singh was the captain.
Took over from Raj Singh Dungarpur.
Okay.
Hanuman was the captain who was trying to be captain of India. So unless you captain Rajasthan state, how can you captain India? So Raj Singh Dungarpur.
And he played you.
He sort of very graciously told Hanuman, if you want to become the captain of India, you better start captaining Rajasthan state. And his brother Surya was also in the team. So I played again under Hanuman for Rajasthan, couple of matches. Then I had a stupid accident. I was also a high board diver. I was a silver medalist in the All India Inter-University high board diving. But swimming and diving. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then I was fooling around doing silly somersaults in the Mayo pool, and I slipped and I fell and I smashed my teeth, smashed my gut.
Oh God!
So for 1 year I couldn't play anything, and
you smashed yourself so bad you couldn't play anything for a year.
Yeah, it took my guts to heal, my teeth to heal, and all that. So I didn't play in the last year, and then.
So you dived and you hurt yourself so bad that your guts and your teeth were smashed.
I was swinging on a board in the rain, and I slipped, so my face went into the water.
Oh my God!
And my legs went outside the pool.
Wow.
So they thought I was dead and gone.
Oh God!
The doctor revived me to.
So your top half fell in the pool, but your bottom half landed on land.
Correct, on the edge of the pool,
God.
like this. Takak.
Oh my! That's one of those. It's what stupid kids do. Right? How old were you that time?
I was all of 22.
22. A little old to be that stupid.
No,
but I can imagine young people do this kind of thing, crazy things, right?
They tease me that there were 2 American girls watching me, and I was trying to show up. I was not. I was doing what everybody does. So that's how it was. So then the principal, I had a job in Mayo College as an English teacher and games.
You were a teacher also?
I was teaching when I was in college,
oh.
and they offered me a job as an English teacher in Mayo College.
Okay.
So he said, don't be silly. Your father was a supernatural teacher.
What did you study, if I may ask, college?
I did a master's in English literature.
English literature? So you're a literature student?
Yeah.
And what is your bachelor's?
My?
Bachelor's?
BA pass.
Okay. No, okay. BA, just a BA.
Just a
BA something? No, nothing like that. Because
BA,
nowadays you have BA
pass course.
Okay, back in the day. There's a common honors course. Right?
Yeah, if you're playing cricket and tennis, you can't also.
So you were a sports, more a sports quota student.
So if I got through my exams, I was the happiest person.
Okay.
But in my masters, I fluked a second division, which was unheard of. There was one first division just. So he said, why don't you go and join tea gardens in Assam? I didn't even know where Assam was. I didn't know what a tea garden was. So he wrote me a letter.
Who's he?
The principal, Jack Gibson.
And Jack, principal of Mayo School.
Yeah, so Jack Gibson was from Doom School earlier. Then he came to Mayo. And when he wrote a serious letter saying, I'm introducing Venkatesh Naidoo, who's been one of our top sportsmen and good leader. Consider him. So the managing director of that time, James Finlay, was Saroj Mehra. When Saroj Mehra wrote this, Saroj Mehra.
Saroj Mehra. Who Saroj Mehra?
Saroj Mehra was the house captain of Kashmir House in Doon School, and Jack Gibson was the housemaster. So when your ex-housemaster, principal of Mayo, writes a letter saying, "Dear Saroj, I am introducing, Venkatesh Naidu," he said, "I have no option. I have to take you. Come and join us."
So basically, he gave you what was back in the day was worth its weight in gold, the recommendation letter.
It all worked like that.
Right? Of course, there was an.
Sifarish is in Hindi.
No, absolutely. I think that's how. Before HR managers and before headhunters and before verification companies came into process, you were guaranteed that this candidate is fit for employment by somebody you trusted.
Of course.
That's how the system works.
Somebody whose name was big.
Correct.
Who the company trusted.
Right.
So of course they trusted.
So
Jack
obviously
Gibson.
if Jack Gibson is giving you a letter of recommendation, you can take it at face value because it's a person of repute who's recommending a young person. So I suppose back in the day it was a different system, right?
Of course.
Today recommendation letters are not today, I'm saying even 10, 15 years ago that went out of fashion.
Correct.
Because now you have other processes to verify a person's background, right?
And you don't have these high people you've known whose name counts or anything like that. Really.
Today I think maybe if you get a text or call from a celebrity, if a big politician or say a CEO of a company calls you up, I think or messages you, I think that's the equivalent today, I suppose, right?
Absolutely.
So sorry, I interrupted you. So you went to Saroj Mehra.
He just took me without an interview saying.
Where did he take you? He was working with Tata.
He was the managing director before Tata's bought James Finlay. He was the managing director of James Finlay.
What was James Finlay?
James Finlay was this English companies.
Which
was
had
running
tea gardens in India.
Assam. They owned it. Then Tata's bought it from James Finlay.
So you joined on the tea estate in Assam of James Finlay
as an assistant manager, which they had. Then I became a manager. Then I became a kind of general manager. Then I went to Moscow as the regional manager.
No. Let's come half step back. So that's how you landed up in Assam.
Correct.
And how long were you there?
24 years.
24 years in Assam.
I loved every day of my life. So,
wow. Kaziranga.
After a few years, I got promoted as a manager, and they sent me to, Sendil, I don't know if you believe in this. I don't believe in God, but there's providence. There are 24 tea gardens in Assam. So there were 24 managers. Why would I be sent to Kaziranga National Park?
So you were
the tea estate.
You were deputed in the tea estate inside Kaziranga National Park.
Inside Kaziranga National Park, there's a tea estate called Hathikoli Tea Estate, and I was sent there. Nobody really wanted to go in the middle of nowhere, but I loved it. So when I went around, I went on elephant, I went jeep, so I used to keep telling people, how the hell did I get here? There could be many. I could be sent to back up beyond some bloody place near Arunachal or whatever. And I loved those 7 years. I loved the wildlife. I loved the people who came to be there. I went in and out. Got attacked by rhinos. Got attacked by elephants. Survived it all. So 7 years of the best life that you can have as a manager. Come a game warden and played cricket and tennis. In Assam. I was the only brave man who actually went for trials at the age of 28 to the Assam Cricket Association and said, I've come for trials. They said, no tea planter ever comes for trials. You're too proud, you're too arrogant. I said, I've come, you reject me. But I have played some good cricket, so try me out. So they tried me out and they selected me.
So you played for Assam?
Assam State. I captained Assam State for one match.
You captained Assam State for
one match. So they thought tea garden life, you're living in a bungalow, you have 12 bloody servants, you got cars and all. They thought everybody is very arrogant and proud, and most tea planters were horribly arrogant for no reason. I was from Ajmer on a bicycle. I was never this thing. So I said, look, you're mistaken. Not all of us are arrogant and pride. And I've come from a very good background, good to say. So I got along very well with the Assam State people, who are all from railways and things like that. And I played and I I scored 50 after 50 after 50. Went to Eden Gardens, which was my dream.
You've played at the Eden Garden.
Wembley of cricket, So I went there, and at the age of 28, as I told you, and I entered this and looked around and said, wow, there were 20 spectators, out of which many and friends were 50%, and a few stragglers.
Who did you play at Eden Garden?
Bengal, the mighty
Assam
Bengal.
versus Bengal.
Bengal.
But how come there weren't many spectators? I suppose it was Ranji match. So okay.
Who the hell will come to watch Assam? We got thrashed everywhere. So Bengal also thrashed us. But I told Dilip Doshi, who was the star of Indian bowling, I had him for 4 fours in 1 over on Indian television for 30 seconds, saying, Dilip bhai, मैं बहुत साल के बाद यहाँ पहुँच गया हूँ. I'm not going anywhere. I ain't going anywhere. I'm here. You can take my skull off, Varun Burman, the fast bowler. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here. I'm going to score a 50, and then I don't care what happens to me. So I went and hung around for 4 hours. Took 1 or 2 fours. I scored runs, and then he came and said, Venkat, I've never met a person with such determination. I said, I was born for this day. So I did that. So yeah, and then I got promoted. I went to Moscow, came back.
You went to Moscow again for tea. I mean, so all your life you spent in the tea business.
Yeah,
so your entire work life was spent in the tea business. You can
always the Tata Tea.
Okay.
Joined with Tata Tea, retired Tata Tea after 35. So Moscow is this mafia-oriented country, big city, as you know. So they had 1,000 metric tons of packet tea lying in various godowns, collecting dust, bleeding Tata tea. Nobody wanted to go there because they couldn't sell it. So when I was in Assam and nobody was wanting to go there.
I can't picture Russians drinking tea.
Well, they're one of the biggest drinkers of tea and vodka together, don't they?
I can. The vodka bit I can imagine, but the tea thing I can't imagine. I don't know why.
Tea during the day and vodka during the night. They're great.
At least if all the Hollywood movies make you believe that they drink vodka from morning to night.
No. Tea, big tea. It's a tradition.
Okay.
In all the things.
So it's not a coffee country, it's a tea country.
Tea and coffee, but tea, of course.
But tea is the. Okay.
And now they've got their own tea bagging factories and all that. So, whatever you want to edit after. So, when nobody wanted to go there, I again went for a cricket match to South India Munnar, the only tea planter, and on the plane I met the vice president of Tata Tea International, and he said, Venkat, nobody wants to go to Moscow, yaar. They're all scared. So I said, I'll go. I'll go tomorrow. Just send me. I want to get out of Assam. The Ulfa, was after my blood. So he said,
Ulfa was after. What do you mean Ulfa was after your blood?
See, Ulfa had kidnapped Bolan Bodloy, who was the son of Gopinath Bodloy, the ex-chief minister of Assam. So they thought Tatas, like other companies, would pay their 2-3 crores and have him released. But Tatas refused to pay that money. So they hunted, they took him into the forest, they kept him there, but Tatas wouldn't pay the ransom money. So then they decided they'd kidnap me. And I was a South Indian manager. Krishna Kumar was a South Indian boss. So they said, we'll bloody pressurize, Krishna Kumar to have me released. So the Ulfa was...
So basically they had to kidnap you so they can get their ransom money from Tatas.
Whatever.
So it was kidnapping you was part of their plan.
Of course. So I had, don't laugh, I had 22 armed guards posted around my bungalow. I had 2 security guards, including Mr. Saikia, the Chief Minister's personal security guards, with 2 AK-47s. So if I went out of my bungalow, they walked with me. If I went out in the garden doing my duties, they walked with me.
Oh, was that bad, huh?
If I went to play golf, these 2 guys.
So the threat on you was real. It wasn't just a rumor. It wasn't like you might be. You were like really serious.
And the Ulfa guys came to my office. They put a gun on my table and said, we want this, we want that, we want your jeep, a loaded gun. And so we did give them a car or taxi. And if I would ask them saying, suppose I hadn't given you the taxi, he said, we would have shot you dead in front of people. We can shoot anybody. Anyway, they didn't shoot me.
But thankfully the Ulfa is now, as a force, it's no longer...
now political. Prafulla Mahanta joined politics, made lots of money.
It's no longer the militant force that it was, right?
So it died, but they kidnapped managers, they killed managers. They were mass
So you
killings.
escaped that and you ran away to Moscow with family, of course.
Well, the company said, why would you like to go to Moscow? Yeah, immediately.
Anything
Well,
to avoid being kidnapped by.
Of course, and whatever.
And
So,
Moscow is not a bad place to.
It was the best.
To escape Ulfa.
Believe me, it was the best place to work in. As a, Tata regional marketing head, totally independent. What a city, what a country, what people. The Russians are better than any American, English, European race. So I was with them. I traveled with them. We sold all the 1,000 metric tons of tea, through getting to know various people. And I rang up Tata saying, look, I'm selling all your tea. I will sell your tea, but I've not made any money on it. I said, you may think that I'm selling this tea and I'm getting a commission. I'm not. So anyway, I sold this and then I came back to India. And then Tata offered me this.
Sorry, let me fix you.
Tata offered me this.
And then I shall sit down and I can ask you.
Perfect.
So how long were you in Russia?
2 years.
2 years.
But it's a fabulous experience. It's the best city in the world. It's developed. It's got music, culture, sports, politics, mafia, business galore, all the embassies around. So if you play tennis and bridge, which we did, you got invited to all the embassies to play tennis with them and bridge with them. And since Mini and I were good bridge players, and Viraj and I were
Viraj is your son,
players,
of course.
so we played tennis against them. India versus Germany, India versus Netherlands.
So you would go to all these embassies and play other countries.
Private tennis courts, huge, bloody 2-acre plots in middle of Russia. Yeah. So it was a great time, and we sold finished the business, did damn well.
So basically, you were sent to wrap up the business in Russia. To basically sell the goods and wrap up the business.
Because nobody was willing to take a job. Their thing was, if you don't sell,
it's a huge loss.
They, their promotion and all, to me it didn't matter. Saying I've come out of the bloody frying pan into the fire. What the hell?
So most people did not take up the assignment because if you failed, there would be consequences.
Of course, saying what the hell did you do?
You said it's better than being kidnapped by the Ulfa.
I said, what is the worst? The Ulfa will not kill me. What will happen? If I don't sell the tea, Tata will ask me to leave. I'll get some job somewhere, whatever. But of course, I sold all the tea. And when I came back, I was the operations chief and then became CEO.
Wait, so from Russia is when you came to Bangalore?
I was for a few months in Calcutta. Calcutta headquarters.
Okay.
And then from there I went to Cochin and became the operations head and then became the CEO. Because the guy, as I told you, the guy from America didn't want to come and the guy from England didn't want to come. His wife didn't like Cochin, the climate, the people. So I went and thanked them. Somebody called John Adams. When I met him later, saying, John, thanks for not coming.
Because the Americans said no and the Brits said no. They decided to go to India and they asked you.
Yeah, so they said, Venkat, would you like this job? I said, what job? The CEO. What? Sure, of course, what do you think? Of course I'll take it. So they also laughed. So you're lucky that you got this job out of nowhere. But then, Sendil, once I got the job, I told Krishna Kumar and I said, sir, I'm a damn good learner. I may not know my job now, but in 6 months and 1 year, I will know this job better than anybody in the company. So I'm very proud to say, since you're, talking to me, Krishna Kumar wrote in his appraisals, directly appraisals to me, saying, Venkat Naidoo is the most creative manager we've got in the tea and coffee business, and he's one of the best managers, CEOs we have. So I couldn't believe this. Krishna is quite capable of sacking anybody or whatever. So, 7 years in Tata Tetley, and I traveled the world. I brought up the company, made exquisite tea bags, improved what Tetley had. Tata's had bought Tetley by that time. So Tata's owned the Tetley brand, which is the second biggest tea brand in the world. So yeah, and it was great. I was happy as a human being could be.
And then you moved. So you moved to Bangalore after retirement or before retirement?
Retirement, just after retirement. I retired. I'd done enough. And
so why Bangalore happened? Because you had family here?
No. After retiring from Tata Tetley, I went to Kunur. There's a company which wanted to promote tea bags. So we had a tea bag factory, and Coca-Cola was interested in making tea bags.
Coca-Cola was interested in making tea bags?
Tea bags and having these machines, which give you hot water. in one channel and sugar and milk in the other, and you put your tea bag and the sugar and milk comes out of
Oh, yeah, of course. I've seen it in companies.
vending machines.
Vending machines, right.
They call vending machines. So I was asked to head this and I came. But, Coca-Cola went broke in the vending machine because they had some problem with the water, things like that. So when we met the chief, he said, Venkat, we don't even know. So I was very happy. 3-4 years with that. And then Abhishek Podar, the managing director and owner of the Podar Group, which owns tea estates in Coimbatore, in Kunul. He offered me this job, saying, why don't you come and work as the director? So I said, only in Bangalore. So they moved to Bangalore, we had a house, very happy with Bangalore. So I came.
And which year, when did you finally arrive at Bangalore?
2008.
2008, okay.
After doing Tetley, Kunur. So I came here, I was working in the office for 5 years. And 5 years is a long time. And so I shook hands with him, he shook hands with me. So after that, I play golf, I make furniture.
That's what you do most of the time, right? So basically you divide your time between playing golf at the KGA and you're also an avid carpenter.
Yes,
right?
I'm a full-time carpenter on my wood workshop, and we are doing various book reviews. So I'm part of a book club. So we've done serious book reviews from 1001 Nights, the Arabian Nights, to Phantom of the Opera, to the Mahabharata, to now I'm doing one on Seabiscuit, the great story about the horse. So since I did a bit of literature, didn't learn very much in college, but it was somewhere there saying, you studied so much, you better put it to use. So I'm doing that. So I'm doing a study now on the various aspects of the Ramayana. Stories which you and I haven't heard, nobody told us, there's nobody tell us stories, but now they are coming out. They're coming out in various phases. So I enjoy it very much. I spend many hours in doing all this. And that's my day goes, doing one thing after the other. Like yours. You're doing so many things, Sendil.
Actually not really. I do a few things, but mostly in the same space. You know what I'm saying? But the things you've done, they seem quite crazy in terms of.
Luckily, I got assignments which I was capable of doing, mainly production, which was within my grasp, and assignments which I enjoyed. So wherever I work, there's no stress, there's no worry whether I could handle it or not. And I went through it, I sailed through life, and grateful to whatever was thrown at me. So happy man to be 75 and be doing what I'm doing.
Actually, honestly, you don't look or behave, like an old man. 75 is pretty senior. I think it's fair to call a 75-year-old man an old man because you have spent 25 years short of a century, right? But you still have the energy level and the enthusiasm of somebody who's much younger. Slightly biggish philosophical question. All your travels and all your experiences. Is there any what do you when you look back in your life, right, and the things you've done and the experiences you've had? What stands out? Is there anything that stands out to you? I mean, I'm sure now that you have a lot more time in your hands, do you sit back and reflect on the life that's gone by? Do you sit back and apart from just nostalgic value where you recount tales with friends and or chats like these, do you reflect on the life that you've lived?
Yeah, of course, all the time. I've traveled the world with Tetley. Tetley was these great guys who took you around their markets, and you went to all the European countries, America, Southeast Asia, and the big-hearted guys. They took you to the World Cup final cricket in London. They took you to Wimbledon. They took you to the Davis Cup final, which is what But to be able to understand that there's this world of business, this world of sport, if you like. This world. I was also the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Cochin. The Cochin Chamber of Commerce is the oldest Chamber of Commerce and Industry in India. So So I just happened to be lucky that I also became president of that. To then to be also able to interact with the industrial heads, which I never thought I'd ever get into that. And then you look at it and say, I was lucky that I did things which were within my grasp. They always say your reach should be, within your grasp. You should never reach beyond your grasp.
You should never overreach.
Never overreach. So it was in my grasp. So, and to make this furniture in Assam, middle of Kaziranga Sanctuary, play a bit of sport.
So basically you're a guy who loved to play sport and you just happened to be in all these places that took you one step forward, right? From whatever you're telling me.
Honestly.
Because none of your tales so far have you mentioned the fact that I was ambitious and I wanted this. Because almost everything you've mentioned, everything, every story of progress that has happened in your life, you just happened to be in a place where somehow things happened and you went to the next destination.
The power of attraction theory it's very true. You have to want something, and you should want it in a clean, healthy manner. Then you have to attract it towards you. So when I want to play sport, I attracted cricket. When I wanted to be outside,
how did you attract?
You concentrate and you go for trials, for example, and you're not worried. Nahi select hua to nahi select hua. Everybody is worried. Ki izzat chali jayegi, and what will people say? You went for trials, you didn't get selected. What the hell, yeah? Don't get selected, you're not good enough. If you're good enough, you'll get selected. So I went for these trials.
So you never took too much pressure about what's going to happen. So you never focused on the result.
It's not a failure. It's an attempt. It's an effort. All efforts don't succeed.
Correct.
So I went for that. Then when I wanted to go to Moscow, I worked around with the bosses in TATA Tetley office in Calcutta and said, look, I want a break. I want to go out. And they said, this place going in Moscow. I went there. Then Tetley, nobody wanted to be the operations, which is really a big factory manager. They're all big subs, general managers and senior managers in the tea estates. So when they asked me, I said, I'll go. Venkat, you're going to that bloody factory. You're going to be a factory manager. I said, I'm going here. What the hell? You don't want to go. So when I went as the operations chief and I became the CEO, all the other vice presidents and general managers told Krishna Kumar, how dare he? We are senior to him. He said, I offered you the job, but you didn't take that job. So he's taken up that.
Basically, your entire career, you've taken up assignments that other guys did not want to.
There's a too risky operation. Our izzat will go away, our promotions will go away.
So you took up the unglamorous. So
of course.
In hindsight,
of course.
Hindsight not so unglamorous, but at the time. You took up the unglamorous assignment.
Unknown.
But unfortunately for the others who refused, it turned out to be quite glamorous appointments because you went to Russia, a job that nobody wanted, and you ended up playing tennis in embassies.
Of course.
You ended up
meeting all the big guns,
You ended up playing bridge with foreigners, right? And then you went to a factory manager position in Cochin, and ended up being CEO of TATA Tetley.
And then they went in crypt.
You were a teacher in Mayo, and randomly through recommendation letter you ended up as a manager in a tea estate in Assam. It's crazy. So,
whatever. You take what you want. So as you're saying, it's not ambition. It's just a desire to want something, to experience it, and then you say, look, I'm going to get there somehow without hurting anybody. So I've never hurt anybody. I've never taken somebody's place or never played politics and all that. Whatever. And I had a HRD, since you talk about HR. The HR chief of Tata's came to visit me in Cochin, and he said, Venkat, I don't know how you got there, but I've looked at all the other people, now they all...
the HR of Tata is quite surprised, they don't know how you became CEO.
Yeah, he said, but you never hurt anybody. Now all the other guys are telling me that how the hell did he get there? How come we weren't? So I said they were asked, but they thought ye hoga ki nahi hoga. When they asked me, I said, I'll take it. So you got to take a chance with your life. And I took my chance and it's worked out well, and here I am.
Also, I'm assuming I could be wrong, correct me. From what you're explaining to me, I think whenever you got an opportunity, I think you just jumped at it without too many expectations. I think you just, from what I gather, you jumped at every opportunity you got with an open mind and always thinking the best will happen, right? With an open mind.
No, without knowing what was going to happen.
Oh, you didn't even realize. You just said, let me just go for it. And in every case, it seems like things.
Well, it was lucky it worked out. So, since you're talking, I don't know if maybe it was your father, maybe it wasn't your father. I was sitting at this lecture of Shri M in the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. It's quite a story, and there's the lights were fading.
Just to give some context to anybody, the 10 people that are watching this, Shri M is a spiritual guru who sits in Madanapalli. There's a foundation called Satsang Foundation, and that's the person he's referring to.
And Viraj works for the school.
Your son Viraj Naidoo.
Yeah.
Viraj Naidoo works for the school run by the foundation.
Correct.
People Grove School. Right.
So, he's giving this lecture on divinity in Upanishad. And Vrinda, my daughter-in-law, was that time the MC that evening. So she comes on this mic and says, I will now tell you the program for the evening. Shri M will talk, then we'll have dinner. Then tomorrow this is the program. 3-day programs he had. So the guy sitting on my right, I was sitting like that. He was reading my palm. And I said, oh, that's Vrinda, that's my daughter-in-law. Hi Vrinda, like one would. So he said, you know Vrinda? I said, she's my daughter-in-law. Yeah. Oh, you're Viraj's father. I know Viraj and Shri M. I don't know who this gentleman was. So he said, I've been reading your palm when the lights are on. So I said, you've been reading my palm? What for? Yeah, I'm a palmist. Hobby. So he said, what's your name? So I said, Venkat Naidoo, yeah, Raj's father. This is a strange thing. Strange things happen in your life. So he said, that time I was all of 68. He said, so Mr. Naidoo, what's happening in your life? I said, I've retired, yeah. I'm a carpenter at home and, failure almost as a father when I was in school and, whatever. He said, no. He said, you have to stay healthy. You have to stay mentally alert. There are some exciting things which are going to come to your life. What exciting? I said, I'm going to turn 70 in a couple of years' time, and in a few years after that, I'm dead and gone. He says, no. You got a few exciting things. Keep alert, keep healthy, and I'm telling you, I've read your palm. So, don't ever give up. So then the lights went off. I never asked his name. I never asked his telephone number. Shri M gave his lecture, and we walked out, and he walked out. But for him to say, you got a few more years of your life of something exciting, which will keep coming your way. So Sendil, I don't know. It was weird. It was, out of the blue. So did it happen?
And you never met this guy again, this gentleman
never
again?
Never saw him, I never saw his face. Never asked him who he was. So which is a pity. Maybe it was a good thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know who it was. Maybe it was their father if he's a palmist or whatever. And then these changes took place. I sold Adarsh Vista. I moved into Prestige 2 Gardens. Viraj has become the principal of the school. This great young magic girl called Vaishnavi.
Your granddaughter.
Complete magic. She changed all our lives. She brought happiness to us. She brought focus to us. She sorted out whatever was going wrong in our lives. And, she's taking us into new ideas, new areas all the time. So what this man meant, and I'm in the process of building a sports archive and museum in Mayo College, which is in the hall of a pavilion. It's like the Lord's Cricket Pavilion. Inside a huge hall. My father's office was there. He was the boss of this. So hopefully I will turn it into a sports archive.
In Mayo College in Ajmer, Rajasthan.
Yeah. So everything is ready. The COVID knocked it out. Whether it will get revived or not. My brother's on the board of governors, general council. So hopefully he'll push it. I've got a house in Ajmer. So whether this man actually was reading my palm and reading my mind and reading my future, it's a weird thing to say to you. That things like this happen here. Where in the world did I think that a guy is going to be sitting on my right and telling me don't give up yet? You've got a few things to do. And now I'm playing tennis again. I've got a group of friends who are simple but nice. We all went around the golf course together, whatever. So, strange things happen to people in life, and you don't know whether you deserve them or not, or whether, it's a story which will never end, or one day I'll just conk out, I'm gone one day and next morning people will come and say, God, the man is no more. So it doesn't worry me.
I know I'm some subconsciously or maybe even consciously mildly scared. But you know how it is, right? When you're 40, I'm 43, I'll be 44 in a few months, right? At that age, you assume that you will live another 20, 30 years.
Of course.
Right? You assume, whether you live or not is a different thing.
Yeah.
But in your heart, you assume,
Of course.
arey 70 dekh lenge type, right? But my part of me says, but like, because 43, right? It feels like I was 25 3 months ago. You know what I'm saying? Life has gone by. The last 15 years have gone by so fast. A lot has happened in my life the last 15 years. Like you mentioned, how things have happened in your life. A lot has happened in my life. In the last 15 years have gone by almost like 3 months. So then I'm thinking, dude, so by the time I turn back, I'll be 60, right? And I look up and look down again, I'll be 75, right? Just like you. And that thought sometimes forces me to, to a point of anxiety where I'm saying, I don't know how much time I have left. I've got to make the best of my life. I got to push myself. I got to do the things that I got to do now when I still can. And I'm still scared. But you don't seem afraid of. You seem, in fact, you seem relieved. You seem quite jolly.
Yeah,
you seem
ready to go. Ready to stay till 90. I'll live till 90. I'll tell you what. You got to have.
But aren't you at any level curious or worried about what happens next whenever the inevitable call of death happens?
No, I'll tell you what. I want to live for another 6-7 years.
That's
5
a target.
years.
That's
Okay.
a target. 80, 82.
I want to see this fantastic growth of Viraj and Mandira, Vrinda and Vaishnavi.
Your son, your daughter-in-law, and your granddaughter.
Viraj is not scared like you. He's had a great career. He's been through ups and downs. He's now running a school. Mandira's got a job she loves. I was speaking to Abhishek Poddar, who knows Mandira very well. I was speaking to the governor of Punjab, VP Singh, who's buddy from school, and they talked about Mandira for 5-6 minutes, and for Viraj, saying, "What are your children doing? Are they still as brave and bold?" Saying, "We'll take life as it comes." So both Viraj and Mandira take life as it comes, and they're doing well. They've never been scared of failure or success or ups and downs. So I've learned from them. I've learned from my father that life is going to throw you, challenges. That's going to throw you in the deep end, and there'll be from the fire to the frying pan to the fire all the time. It goes every day of your life. So what the hell? I mean, you're 44, I'm 75. 75 is a damn good age. What happens? At the most, they'll knock on the door and I won't get up. And people say, what the hell's happened?
Do you have everyone has theories. What do you think is going to happen after you or me or anybody? After, once we are gone, once we are no more in this body. Do you have any idea of what is your idea of what happens next? Or do you have any...
to my life or to my children's life?
Anybody.
See, as far as...
the life after death, do you have a theory?
Nothing. I don't believe in rebirth. I don't believe in life after death.
But doesn't that scare you, that at least believing in rebirth, right? Now Christians believe we go to heaven, Muslims believe we go to Jannat, right? And there is a huge section of Hindu philosophy that believes in karma and rebirth, right?
Of course.
Which is a new concept for me, something I've been trying to understand maybe the last 3-4 years. And it gives me some hope that while you will not come back as yourself for sure. That's what the theory, right? But the fact that you might come back and you get one more chance, and this time hopefully you won't fuck up as badly as you did the last time, right? That gives me some hope, But since you don't believe in all that,
no.
How are you able to? So basically, you've accepted the fact that when your life ends, this all ends, and you've had a good time, and it's time to go away.
I spoke to the great Raja Ravi Verma, the Raja of Cochin, Travancore, and his younger brothers there. So we donated some money.
Raja Ravi Verma's younger brother.
Okay. He lives in Kottayam. So we called him across for lunch, dinner. His wife came. So I said, sir, you are a very learned human being. Tell me, when you go to a Shiva temple, you have to take these, parikramas. How come in the Shiva temple you can't go around? There's this river of milk or whatever. So you take half a circle parikrama and you come back. And nobody's been able to explain this to me. He says very simple. Symbolically, whether there's a Shiva or not, symbolically, Shiva is the highest level of God, and He lives wherever. So you are taking the seventh circle of your life. After this, you have either attained Nirvana or there is nothing. So you take these circles in temples of Vishnu and Hanuman and Ram and wherever they are. He says, you're going round and round, you're going higher. So I said, but I am called Venkatesh. I was named Venkatesh. So he joked. So he said, what do you feel? I said, I don't believe in rebirth. So I'm not going to be born again, I've done my parikramas. I've done whatever it is. So really, honestly, I've never given it a thought. And I'm not intelligent enough or evolved enough like Shriyam or maybe Viraj or Mandira attending all these. So, so I don't know beyond that. I've never thought beyond that. I've never read books. I've never asked Shriyam saying, is there a life after that? Viraj and Mandira believe in an afterlife.
So essentially you don't believe. You don't believe but you don't worry about it.
Not believe. I'm not capable of understanding these big things.
But doesn't it scare you?
I'm a simple guy.
Are you scared in the
good life?
I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just asking you. I'm so happy to see
I've written off all my little, assets.
You willed everything to your
Viraj
children.
And so they won't even have to think. It's all there. The house.
No, but it's not about them. I'm saying you as an individual, as a human being, who is now lived a full and interesting, colorful life, right? And you, as you enter the twilight era of your existence.
I don't think it's twilight, but thanks for telling me that.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that as in a way to discourage you. I'm just saying. I mean, I guess the golden years. Let me rephrase that. As you enter the golden years. So you've already entered the golden years of your life, right? I'm just curious to know. But clearly, you don't entertain these thoughts. Clearly, you're somebody who's so. I have a feeling from what you're telling me that you are still enjoying life so much.
Very much.
That you don't spend too much time thinking about, the end of it.
Not at all. Yeah, I had a few years where I was depressed, didn't know how to get over it. I've got over it completely. My only thing is, I told you, I want to spend 5 years with my granddaughter. She's exceptional athlete, gymnast. I'm a good tennis coach. I'm a good grandfather, fun grandfather. So 5-6 years, I want to spend with her and she'll spend with me. She doesn't treat me like a grandfather. No, Dada, I'm just a friend. Just do it. For Viraj, she'll say, Papa, she'll tell Amma, Khala, Mandira's called Khala, for me, just do it, Dada, just do it. So we are like that, we're just friends. So I want to spend these 5-6 years with her and see where she goes and where I go with her. It's a new phase of life, being a happy grandfather. So that is it. After that, there is no life. For me, there is no life beyond that. Kadam. 5 years, 6 years with her, going around, going to Viraj's school, seeing how he's growing, how he's happy with the selection of his job.
Since we're sitting down having a chat, I'm worried about a lot of things.
Huh?
And some of the things that I don't allow fear to be a part of my decision making. I don't make decisions out of fear. But do I worry about things? As Mandira often says, more than I should. And more than I should about things that I shouldn't be worried about. Things that are beyond my control. I think as I grow older, I'm trying harder to worry less and less about things that are beyond my control. Things like mortality, it's in nobody's control, right? No one knows. All our days are numbered, and none of us knows how long we have, right? And I guess the lesson is, as you put it, maybe not in words, but through your attitude, that the objective is to enjoy the here and the now, right? And not really worry about what happens next and where we go from here, right? So that's definitely my take from a lot of your stories, is that you're somebody who's really always focused on what's happening now, right, in your life and in your career. Even the decisions you've made, it's always been about, let me enjoy the now, right? And maybe and
be steady. Since you're talking, I don't know if you heard of Dante. The Divine Comedy. Dante was in love with this great, beautiful woman called Beatrice. He never met her, he never spoke to her, but he was in love with her. And she went out, she got married, he got thrown out of Florence, whatever. So he wrote the Divine Comedy. The Divine Comedy is an invention, pardon me for saying this, of hell, the 7 layers of hell called the Malebolge, then purgatory, where you climb the hill, 7 circles, and going to heaven. So he travelled through hell, purgatory, and he goes to heaven and he meets finally Beatrice, his beloved. It's a pure invention, work of fiction, but the whole world started believing in hell, purgatory and heaven through Dante. Okay, so everything is invented here. To me, it's a work of literature. It's the second most painted, picturized version of a book called the Divine Comedy after the Bible. The Bible is the most picturized.
So you think the Divine Comedy is the second best after the Bible, you say?
Yes, picturized, storytelling, movies, films, people going there, whatever it is.
So in terms of influence, you're saying it's such an influential
he
book.
influenced one man called Dante. He influenced the whole world, and they started believing in hell and purgatory and heaven. Before that, there was no concept of hell
at a mass level, as a social level.
Nobody knew you'll die, and nobody knew where you're going to go. He said, no, you'll go to heaven. If you've done this, you'll go to the 2nd circle. If you've done this, you'll go to the 4th circle.
But he was a Christian who wrote all this.
He was Florence. Everybody is a Christian, converted, and he wanted to get to Beatrice. So he said,
Beatrice was in heaven according to him.
Yeah, he said, I'll get to her through heaven. So
because he could not be with her in the world.
Yeah.
He decided that he will be with Beatrice in heaven.
And he perceived, the globe as it is. So there is England and Europe on one side, and if you draw straight, there's Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Antipodes or whatever it's called. So he traveled through the end of the world and said, this is how the world is, and I will go through hell in the middle, and then the other side there will be another hillock, and I'll travel through.
Oh, like that.
So the book called Dan Brown's Inferno.
Yes.
You can laugh at it, you can joke with it, but the man has explained the concept of Dante's hell, heaven and purgatory in beautiful words. So whatever it is. Otherwise, where will you read? Who's going to read the Divine Comedy? I read it. So, the thing is to say, my God, everything, whether it's the Mahabharata or Ramayana or I don't know much about Islam, they're all stories. It's all mythology, Greek mythology or whatever it is. So as you're saying, do I believe in all this? What happens to me after death? I am not, I don't know. And really I don't care. I've had a damn good life. And one day, the time will be there. Hopefully my children will be around me like I was with my mother when she died. She died in my arms. That is the ultimate. If my children are around me when I die, not in a hospital, at home, what more is there? What more do you want to do? Hopefully your children will also be around you. They'll be grown up. They'll be traveling with you. They'll be laughing and joking with you. And if that happens, what more? That's Jannat.
On that, what can I say? Positive note, hopeful note, we shall end the show. Thank you so much. I hope
thank you for this.
You had fun having this conversation as much as I did.
And thank you for this exceptionally good whiskey that you're drinking.
Hopefully some whiskey brand will sponsor this podcast someday, and we will sit once again before in front of the camera or behind and have better whiskey.
No, whatever. Of course.